This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks. With an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to Eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another night, 9 o'clock in the East, wherever you are across the world. Thanks for coming on in. Beyond BMR. Got a great show for you slated for tonight. I appreciate everybody for coming in today and joining the show, whether in the chat room or listening somewhere else. Always appreciated. Tom Franklin joins us from the Eye of Jupiter podcast. You can find Tom on YouTube. You can find him at wherever podcasts are found and on Facebook. And I have all of his links provided in the show description. Typically, as you well know, that Krista usually joins me co-hosting on this particular show. But I got a call from her not too long ago. She's come down with a strange illness, I guess. She got done eating some dinner. And I talked to her. She sounds... under the weather. So I'm backstage and my good buddy Tex always pops in before a show. And I said, Tex, why don't you just fill in for Krista if you're not doing anything? So much obliged from Tex. So he'll be joining us. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, Texas Front Porch found on YouTube, Donnie Cho Says Stuff, Paranormal Paul, Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World, Miss Diva at Tea Time with Miss Diva. You can find her on YouTube as well, across the board. If I forgot one of our buddies, actually, Josh Turner had a great show on Texas Front Porch last night. Check that out and go look at the replay. Fantastic show that he did last night. So, hats off to that. For a fantastic show. Tonight, again, I'll bring up Tom in a minute, but I have to thank everybody, of course, buying my books that you can find on Amazon. Bigfoot Michigan Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1 and Book 2. Simply type Bigfoot Michigan Rob in your Amazon browser. Please leave a review and subscribe. It's all analytics these days, much like giving a thumbs up or liking a YouTube video. If you bought the book, Amazon will ask you to leave a review. Please do so, because it does help me. And again, the Super Chat's open is a great way to help support what we do around here. You can become a BMR pirate. Join today. Join the many. Join the few. Depends on your point of view. You get a picture of me sporting a bandana in the chat room. And I'll be releasing some members-only shows. Just have to put those together. Turn on your alert bells. We're on almost 7 days a week across our channels. So, yes, the alert bell, you won't miss a single episode. So I do appreciate that. And I'm going to bring up Mr. Tex. He's ready to roll. Hey, Tex, what's happening, buddy?
Hey.
Well, thanks for stopping on in and assisting tonight. Things happen, and yeah, so what's happening, partner?
Not a whole lot tonight. I'm just kind of setting up some shows and getting ready for tomorrow. And of course, they canceled my jury duty, so I don't have to do that. So I'm good for a year.
I haven't been to jury duty in probably, 10 years probably.
This was the first time that I got tapped for jury duty since 2016. And I was all ready to go. I was supposed to be there at 8:45 in the morning. And I got an email today, said, never mind. I said, all right, cool.
Yeah, you always like that. I like to get that announcement a couple days ahead of time, but hey, Whenever you could avoid it, though. I mean, I will tell you this though. When I last was at jury duty, I must say this, Tex, I did enjoy it. It was a murder in Detroit,
Mm.
and yeah, we did it. But I tell you what, though, we it took us about 10 hours to come up with a verdict, and of course, I got voted in as the lead guy.
Oh, the foreman?
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, and but it was almost a split jury. I'm not going to get into what it was about, but it was kind of graphic and very interesting to say the least. So yeah, so it was back some time ago. I haven't been back since though, not since.
Yeah, the last jury trip I had, we gave the guy, it was a aggravated assault on some cops, and
Yeah,
he'd been arrested 200 times, and we ended up giving the guy 55 years.
well, this was really quickly. The twist on mine was there was a murder that took place in Detroit, and after a couple weeks of investigations, the police came across the alleged suspect, of which the suspect opened fire on the police, and they turned around and retaliated and ended up killing the guy.
Hmm.
So it was more like the police were kind of, on jury. So it was very complex, and
Cool. You have to tell me about it sometime.
yeah, well, yeah, from what I
Not
remember.
tonight, though.
Not tonight. We have a fantastic show. We're going to talk a little monsters of Yucatan Peninsula, monsters of Mexico, and other things with Tom Franklin. And we won't waste any more time. And I'm going to bring up Mr. Tom Franklin.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Sup, Tommy?
Hey, Tom. What's going on? Eye Jupiter.
Same thing. Different day. Hot, sunny, sunburnt. Got some welders flash the other day. I'm in it.
You're in it. And for those of you, Tom is actually coming to us from Mexico. And correct me if I'm wrong, is your location on the peninsula of the Yucatan?
Yes, I am in a city called Campeche. It's in the state of Campeche. It's on the Atlantic side, on the Gulf side of the peninsula.
Yeah, so that 90-degree weather, it's probably 12 months out of the year summertime compared to
Pretty much.
States.
Pretty much. A cold day here would be like 75. Hi, Pam.
Oh,
There's my wonderful moderator, Pam, over there. Hi, Pam.
Hi, Pam. Yeah,
y'all probably got some different varmints down there than we do.
Oh, yeah. I just happen to see I have some. I have a couple. I don't know if you can see that. There's a turkey feather. I got 3 of them sitting here that I pulled off my property. So that's one thing similar. Other than, I think they're called the oscillating turkey. They're a little bit smaller, not so big, but they're more colorful. And there's a lot out of my property.
Nice. You'll have a good Thanksgiving then.
I haven't really celebrated Thanksgiving, and I got to be honest with you guys, like for real. I don't know, maybe. That's a good question. I'd say so. Every bit of 15 years, if not longer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been overseas, So
yeah.
Well,
have the same.
It doesn't have the same effect. Like here in the States, Thanksgiving is probably, my holidays are ranked between Halloween, Thanksgiving, and probably like Christmas. And Thanksgiving I really love because you got NFL football all day long, and some good, and all the
3
family
games.
Yeah, you got my Lions, and now shit, man, there's like 6 games on. I mean, which is a little too much, though. I mean, come on.
Well, then the Christmas is normally NBA time.
NBA time.
The Lakers play, a couple teams play, so it's always like it's a time for like normally the ladies are in the kitchen or rounding up the troops and making sure everything's okay, and the guys are just yelling at the screen. So it's good American fun. I remember, at least.
Yeah. Well, nothing's changed, my man. Nothing. It's all the same. Just more games and more work for the ladies. And they tend to I'm really cool though, because I go over to my brother's house and my sister-in-law loves football, so she gets into the Lions. So She goes back and forth. My brother does the turkey and she does the rest. But
There you
we've
go.
decided moving forward with all these holidays, we do the holidays at the variety of different family homes. We've just decided to cut back on the food. It doesn't matter if it's going to be Thanksgiving, Christmas, or otherwise. You just always overbuy and overcook, and half the stuff. I mean, you have food for 3 days. Don't get me wrong, but it's just we're cutting back a little bit. Just cutting.
It's probably a good idea. I think that would be a good idea. The turkey, of course, that's mandatory. Macaroni and cheese, some stuffing, and maybe like I don't know, some kind of green in there or something. I prefer.
Yeah, you got to hit all the food groups, and of course some rolls.
Yeah.
A little bit of bread with butter, a little bit of bread, butter.
Yeah, remember they used to say you used to eat the pyramid, the food pyramid used to be all your grains was the most thing you're supposed to eat. Looks like they got that one backwards.
I think they do, Tom.
I think they did.
I think a lot of things today is backwards though, compared to when we were it's totally the opposite today. Things that I learned as a 5 and 10-year-old, just throw out the window.
Yeah. Pluto. What happened to Pluto? It don't matter.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, little Keith, thank you so much for the super chat. Because the party started here. Super chats, of course, are open. Always appreciated, never expected. Thank you, Keith. Stories from Mexico sounds like tequila time. Be right back. And I have seen Keith's bar from a distance. He's got a fabulous bar. Nice selection of tequilas from Keith from Oakland County, Michigan. So yeah, let's get into this a little bit, Tom. We'll talk about your channel a little bit and with the great guests that you've had on, because you do a great job over there. I met you, maybe last year, and I think you're on. And we were just talking about that and talk a little bit about your accounts. I think whenever I have a guest on from a different country, it's always fascinating me, whether it's Mexico, Great Britain, Canada, wherever you may be. So I was reading over your bio. Tom's got a great bio. You can find that also in the description of this. Let's talk a little about the peninsula, man. You've come across some weird things. You talked about some creepy creatures. I think you had some paranormal experiences prior to this. I know UFOs. So wherever you want to go, simply just let us know where you want to go.
Yeah, the Yucatan Peninsula is it's a very strange place. It's steeped in mystery. It used to be the heartland of the Mayans of Mesoamerica. I may or may not. I can either confirm or deny that I actually have ruins on my property. I own 10 acres in the middle of the Yucatan jungle. It's not the rainforest. I'm on the jungle side of it, so it has like a dry season and it has a wet season. There's things here from, like the Bell Witch is famous in America and Tennessee there. We have down here, it's called the Ishtabay. That's Xtabay. It's a very famous witch. Presents herself as a beautiful woman and mainly to drunks. I don't know if that lends credence to the story or not, but that's, and then she'll offer you money to get some more alcohol, or she'll sit down with you in your yard, and then you'll turn around and it'll be like a haggard person with long black hair and a horse leg and a chicken leg. And this has been part of the lore down here for a very, very long time. For example, that's just one of the things that are down here.
How did that come about? Any background?
It's a long story. It's hard to. I actually read into it and did some research on it, but it was apparently like twins, and one was very pretty, and one was not. And then it's kind of like more of I guess like a Greek Iliad kind of thing, where the beautiful one got all the men and the ugly one, the unattractive one didn't, and something happened, some mojo, someone croaked, then this one of them came back. There's a lot to it, but it's very, very well known here. I actually do some of my stand-up at a bar called the Ishtabay, and it's well known. If you say the Ishtabai here, it's like the Bell Witch in America. Really is.
Hey, little Patty asks, what's she again? So she's the Bell Witch of Mexico.
Of the Yucatan Peninsula. Very famous in this specific region. There's many things that are very specific to the region.
With the really quickly with the Bell Witch of America or North America, that was a lot of the stories date way back to the Civil War. Is perhaps this witch associated with any of the Mexican Revolution that you know of?
Not that I particularly know of, but I would suggest that your followers, your listeners, go ahead and look it up. I don't know exactly how long ago it's been. I think it's even before that. I think it's before even the Spanish came and colonized the area. So it's been around for a long time. It's Mayans, dude. They're very.
So is all she does is come sit and have alcohol with you, or?
No, she
That's
comes
not
in
bad,
like
weird.
tries to. There's like she'll take you in caves. Like here, there's a lot of caves. This whole peninsula is a limestone outcrop, and
wow.
it's very porous. There's no really running rivers here. If you get towards the southern part of the peninsula, there's a couple rivers, but mostly their fresh water here is taken from things called cenotes. It's like a hole in the ground, and there's or wells and things like that, and it's very porous. The ground. They also have a thing like if you go into the caves, they have this thing called vientos malos, which would be then bad winds. So there's people, I've heard stories of people here go into these caves and they'll come out with a stutter. They'll come out with a fever. And sometimes they'll actually perish within a couple days. Like they'll have this,
Wow.
they're sick for days. Or they'll come out with they'll come out with a twitch or some craziness. It's not an uncommon thing down here, honestly.
Huh.
There's one story in particular that a coworker of mine told me. So this is what I do. I speak enough Spanish to be able to collect some of these stories. It's something I'm planning on doing, but I can't find an AI that makes me happy enough and is cheap enough or free enough to be able to subtitle it in English so that everyone gets the stories on both sides of the
Right.
English to Spanish speaking world. But this one story, it was it's a guy I work with. His name is Norberto. He's a really cool guy, and he was telling, because he knows that this is what I do in my podcast. I speak about just things that you won't find in normal newspapers, or things off the beaten path that are becoming more and more mainstream, but well enough. And one day he just came to me. He said, "Yeah, I was my uncle and a friend of his. They were at his uncle's properties in his backyard. It's like suburban Mexico, but they got some of these places, some suburbs of this town have like large plots of land that's been subdivided through the years and whatnot. And this particular one still was quite large, maybe an acre or two. And so they're back there after Friday or after Saturday working all day, and they were having some beers and some drinks and smoked some cigarettes or whatever. And they kept hearing a noise because there was a cave in this particular part of the yard. And his uncle said, "Okay, just let me do something." And so he took a little glass, put a little bit of beer in it, put the beer out there, lit a cigarette, and put it on the ground. And then he stood back and he said, "Let's see what happens." And supposedly, this is a very common thing that I haven't seen them, but I've experienced some of their doings, I guess you would say. It's a thing called an Allux, or Allux. Allux is the plural version. So Allux. Came out. These are like 2 to 3 foot tall cherub type entities, somewhere between an homunculus and I don't know, something unholy. It's kind of weird.
Cherub is kind of, isn't a cherub like an angel artifact or
like Cupid, like Cupid.
Okay.
The kind of rounded derriere, and they kind of childish. They're kind of
yes.
naked. They got the Buddha belly, and they're Mayan, so they have quite a bit of melanin in their skin, so they're brown people, and they're really small. And this thing came out. He's seen it. Grabbed the beer, drank it, 2 or 3 foot tall thing, took a hit of the cigarette, and the uncle freaked out.
Jeez.
He got a fever for 2 days and never came back to the property ever. And he's, "I'm never going back there again." Very common thing. Another one was they were kids. He told me a couple stories. He told me about 4 stories. Now I'm thinking of it. This one time it was kids. I think it wasn't him, but it was like his nephews and nieces, but he wasn't there for some reason. And they went and played hide and go seek in a cave, and one of the kids got lost in there. And they think something grabbed her and pulled it in there. And then they went and looked for her. She finally came out, and she hasn't been able to speak right since.
Wow.
It's very common down here. Very common.
Well, I mean, that could be. I mean, if you want to look for a logical explanation, I mean, that could be trauma from being in a freaking cave, But it's weird that it's weird that that's such a common happenstance down there that they come back with a speech impediment in particular,
Uh-huh. There's even it's so common text that if you go to a job site, I work with Mexicans and I'll pour concrete with them. I'm side by side. I got the trowel in my hand. I'm putting up forms and rebar and everything. And if there's a short guy on the job site with you, I'll say, hey, there's an Allux right there. So you know what I mean? So, and they'll laugh
right.
because he's a shorter fellow and he's like, I know Allux, and it's kind of like ribbing and joking, but everyone knows what you're talking about. It's not
so
people don't know about it.
The Allux is common. It's yeah, if you brought it up at the local market, people are not going to look at you weird.
No. It's yeah, I've seen him before. Even my chiropractor's seen him before. Yeah, I've seen one. This part is it was 2 years ago. I was there. He was like, yeah, this part didn't used to be as built up as much. And between here and my friend's house one night, we seen a little guy on the street, and we turned and we seen him. We were like, hey, we just said hey, and he turned around and he had glowing eyes, and then ran. What are you talking about? It's like anything. It's talking about the Lions in Detroit or the Packers in Green Bay or whatever. Sorry, Rob, I don't mean to get under your skin.
No, it's okay.
The same. Is that the same division? Yeah, I think it's the same division.
Yes, Tom, they're the same division. I'm well past it. You brought it up. I'm looking forward to the free agency and draft, but please continue.
Well, I'm a Ravens fan over here, so you tell me when you can see.
Well, the Ravens are. Hey, listen, I'm a fan of football. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I don't mind the Ravens.
All right. Well, yeah, Detroit did good this year. Barry Sanders is my favorite running back ever. So, yeah, just the best ever. Sorry. Yeah, dude. So my run-in with these Alluxes. So I actually talked to a gentleman who knew a little bit about it, and that specific episode, this is a while ago. This is back with Rye. It was called something like Mayan Black Magic. You got somebody. Thank you, Two Shadows. Appreciate it. I'll speak for Rob. And yeah, supposedly this has been going on ever since the time of the Mayans. So they're very protective of the corn. They it's like
wait a minute. Did you say protective of the porn?
Of the corn.
Corn. Okay, gotcha.
Protector of the porn. That would be something else. I don't know what that would be.
That's an entirely different channel.
That's a different. I was going to say that's a different show, Tex.
Well, I'm just making sure.
That'd be on that's featured on the Donnie Cho Says Stuff show.
I was like, well, we're fixing to go way off the rails here. I mean,
No, I didn't do that. I promise. That wasn't a teaser for anything. I'm not trying to promote it.
No, I know. Go on. It's just, Anyways,
I forgot what place.
Continuing on.
Yeah, so these things supposedly it's kind of like a mix of blood. Like when someone wants to protect the land, a specific land. I don't know how they mark it off, or it's just for a specific area, or how wide and long it is. But after they do this ritual, it's mud, blood. Somehow corn is put down as a sacrament to you can eat of this, and they kind of go back and they do this for 7 days. And once the 7 days are up, then once it's not there no more, then they stop doing it. So then this thing is always there. So this is back in the days of the Mayan before European settlements. So when people now move into these areas and they build their house on they think is a normal piece of land, these things are there still protecting the fields, or still protecting the forest.
So, I mean, these things have. Do they like talk about them? I mean, I don't know. It's like you were saying, they're like everyday things,
Yeah.
and they're just part of
It's
where do they come? Do they live underground? Is that where they come from and stuff?
I can't tell you, but I do know this. I was talking to a guy who was fixing my car. He used to be a hunter. He pulled out all his pictures of all the deer he's had over the years, and I started talking. He goes, "Where do you live?" And I was like, I have 10 acres in the middle of nowhere. Literally, it's nowhere. I have solar power and a well. That's what I have out there, and so I don't have to worry about being cold, but I do have to worry about being hot. So some days I just jump in the barrel of water. I have a barrel, so I fill up, or I just go to the ocean, which is about a mile and a half away. And I was like, "So what do you know?" Because I started hearing about it. Started the show and stuff with Ryan. And he was like, "Yeah, it's do you know about Allux?" He goes, "Yeah." He said they like to throw rocks at you. The little kids, I've seen them before. I've seen them with glowing eyes. I've heard them talk. And anytime you're near any type of mountain, like a mountainside or like it's not really mountains here, like hills, they're like maybe 100, 200 feet tall, then rocks will get thrown at you. And I actually had that happen to me. So we moved out there like 2 years ago, and I cleared out a part of the jungle to put the house in and the path in. It's just, my muscles hurt for every bit of, I would say 2 months, like tennis elbow kind of thing. I mean, you chop out there. And so we had this. So I had all this brush I had to burn up because it dries, and dry season comes, it burns down your thing. So you have to kind of burn it up and clean it. And I'm out there with my daughter. She's 5, 6 at the time, and we're roasting marshmallows. And it started to get dark, and I swear, just a rock gets thrown, maybe 15 meters from me. 15 yards away from me, and I just hear it go like through the trees. I've never heard. It wasn't no limb, no sticky. There's a difference. You can tell. And I just kind of casually said to her, because I started hearing about it before I got there, or as I was there, better said. And I said, let's get out of here. I'm tired, baby. Let's go to sleep.
And this was thrown through the forest out towards you?
Yeah. It felt, it's because as I hear it, I turn it and I can see the leaves like getting, you know what I mean? Like the leaves wiggling as it's going through, And you can tell then the trajectory was coming from on top of the hill. Next to where we're having the campfire. Yeah, pretty wild. And that's not like the weirdest of it. Like there was three different well, there's 2 or 3, I can't remember now. We'll say it's at least 2 different instances. No, 3. Okay, the first instance was, so we have this little cabin. It's not big. It's maybe 20 by 15 feet. It's just a little cabin, a place where you can get inside from the rain. And then there's an outside area that's just as big, if not bigger, where it's like an outdoor kitchen. I got a little bathroom there. I got a shower. I got places where you hang your hammocks and sleep. And I'm sleeping in a hammock like this way, whatever. And then 90 degrees is my daughter's, and it kind of crosses, but it doesn't touch. And so in the middle of the night, about 3 o'clock, I get up to go to the bathroom. And I'm falling back to sleep, and I'm laying on my left side, and I hear distinctly in my left ear a voice, it's like a whispering. It wasn't English, it wasn't Spanish, and I'm assuming it's Mayan. I don't know what it was. It was female, and I could literally feel it on my ear. And I just kind of out of instinct just swung a punch and looked, and there was nobody there. So that was the first really odd experience I had out there. The second time was I woke up, same position. The hammocks were different on the third one, but in the same position, laying there. And no, the hammock was I put an add-on on the thing, so I'm farther away from my daughter, a little more privacy and space for her as well as me. And I just look over to check on her. She's sleeping fine. And I look up above her. It's a metal corrugated roof, and over top of that area. And there's this bluish white light. It looks like it's like reflecting off the water. Like, you've ever seen the movie Abyss back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Has that look to it, but it's circular, but it's not like crisp. And so my first instinct is to see where the source is coming from. I'm thinking like a flashlight. Maybe she left on her cell phone flashlight. I don't know what's going on. And as soon as I look down to see the source, I look back up, and it wasn't, because I didn't see it. I looked back up, and it was also gone. It was also moving, not like in a circle, but kind of sporadic, not very fast, not very jumpy, kind of just floating around. So that was the second thing. The The third time, I was in the same area. The now shower area is to my right, and I didn't have a door on it yet. I still don't. I still have a curtain hanger over it now. And I go to the bathroom. It's all netting around me, guys. You have to imagine the mosquitoes out there. There's like 5 different species of mosquitoes out there. The yellow ones are the ones that carry malaria. And you can spray all the off you want on you, they won't stay off. And even if you put that netting up, which is very fine mesh, there's a very tiny like fly or mosquito that can occasionally get through and still mesh with you. So I got mesh all around me. It goes from the ceiling to floor. I got it foamed in with the spray foam so nothing can in. And so the kind of same thing. I wake up, go to the bathroom. I'm laying down, and I just, half asleep, and I just kind of open my eyes and look to my right. And on that shower, inside the door on the wall this time, the same luminous light effect was happening. And it was very strange. It was still doing the same thing. I go as soon as I look for the, like, is there a flash? And then it's just the same thing. It goes away again. And I just said, okay, I know you, like in my mind, same intention though. I know you're here. Right. Just, leave us alone. You know what I mean? We're not bothering you. And maybe 5 minutes later, before I go to sleep, behind me on the driveway, it kind of curves right there about maybe 20, 25 yards up the path. If I had to guess, I hear another voice. It's still feminine. It's still whispery and whatever. And I just said the same thing. And I kind of died down. I was able to go to sleep. And then the next morning, I went up on top of the hill right next to the cabin. And I just went up there and said again, I think I know what you are. I know you're here to protect the property. It's fine. You can stay. I think it's these Allux things. I don't know what else would be out there. I'm sure someone that might in the chat have a suggestion. And I just kind of stated my piece and said, hey, we're here to actually improve the land. We're not here to hurt anything. You can stay. Just, don't bother me or my family. And ever since then, there hasn't been any issues.
Wow.
It's weird.
So how far are you away from the coast?
If you take a bird's eye flight from where I am now is in the apartment in the city with my girlfriend. I have property out there. I don't live out there anymore, but I do visit occasionally because that's where my ex-wife stays. But the property itself, I am, it's, I don't know, I would say about 1.5 miles, 2 miles right off the coast. About 10 acres for, I'll tell you, it don't matter to me. It's not like you guys are going to come under buy land. I bought 10 acres for $6,000.
10 acres, 6,000. Yeah. Well, it's
sign me up.
Yeah.
It's hot. Property taxes, I paid 600 pesos this year, and that is about $30.
Well, I got to tell you, I got a friend of mine, my neighbor, in fact, Vince. He lives he has property in Acapulco and 2 houses, and his girlfriend has a farm, and he lives here in the winter. And he's getting up there in age. He's like, where he can't take the heat anymore. But he's showed me fabulous pictures. And I asked him, because he knows what I do. I said, you ever come across any of these things? I got to ask him about this. What do they call it? I got to write it down. I know what we've been talking about, the cherub.
Yeah, they're called Allucius.
Or Allucius. Yeah, I'm going to have to ask him about that. Because he's been around the block for many years. I don't know
if they're in Acapulco. I don't think they're up that way. I think they're like basically Mesoamerica. Acapulco is up on the west coast. A little farther north. This is like Allucius are basically from the tip of the peninsula all the way down through southern Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, and part of the Honduras. I think that's all former Mayan, even though they all spoke slightly different versions. This part of Mexico is known as like the hub of Mayan culture. I live 1 hour away from a place called Esna, EDZNA, and I went out there a couple months ago with my daughter and my girlfriend, and we looked at that, and that place is wild. People always go, the pyramids, and it's not a big pyramid. It's nothing like, something you would find. It's not even like Chichen Itza or something like that, but it's still, when you see in this thing, it's like, I don't know, what is it? It's every bit of like 100 feet tall. And you just look at it and you go, how in the hell did they do this? And it's it's up on a platform that they built, and it's like a ball court, and like you can speak, and it goes, you can hear people talk from the other side, and they're every bit of 200 yards away from you, 300 yards away from you. It's quite impressive.
You know, I was thinking one of the people in the chat room, Amber, Audacious Amber.
Oh, I know her. Hi, how's it going, Amber?
Yeah, she had a question. I was kind of alluding to it earlier. And, you know, it doesn't have to be anything that you've come across. And I think Tex is probably somewhat familiar with this, but I've heard that in certain parts of Mexico, there's a lot of people that have come across the reptilians. You get a lot of that, or hear a lot of that.
No,
where you're at,
no,
or anywhere in your parts.
No, it's more black magic here. It's
Oh.
more black magic. There's more like what's it? The Nahual, what the Americans or what I will refer to as like a skinwalker. That's here. Like just like these black dogs that like follow people. There's a lot of witchcraft. There's a lot of like Catholic mix of there's saints as well as like this older version of like the dead. So that's the Dias Las Muertas. And there's a town here called Pomuch, P-U-M, something like that. Pomuch, P-O-M-U-C-H, like Pomuch. There's a cemetery there, and every year, I can't remember, I think it's actually the same time as Halloween. I think it's the 1st of November. The whole cemetery goes, and it's all mausoleums because it's all rocky ground here. There's places where you can plant, but most of it's like limestone. And so it's all mausoleums. And what they do is they actually go in, take out the remains, and they like clean them off and wash them and put them on display with the candles and everything. And there's more hair and more of the body that remains is a good thing because that still means they want to stay with the family. Stuff like that, but not reptilians, to answer your question. At least I haven't heard of it yet.
No, I just asked because I've heard it. Somebody asked in the chat, and I just, just off the top of my head, I just.
Oh, that's fine.
But you never know.
So,
because go ahead, Tex, because I'll be right back.
I was going to mention, what about, and I know I'm going to butcher this name, okay? Nahal?
Yeah, Nahual. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's like a jaguar man.
I don't know much about it. If my Mayan girlfriend was here, I would ask her, but she's at her mom's house right now. It's they refer, it's a shapeshifter of sorts. I don't know if it's from a person to a jaguar or exactly what it is, but it's kind to give it like the only thing that I've heard that it's like to put it in some type of box or to kind of understand it would be like a excuse me, I already said it, a wind talker, skinwalker. Wind talker was a movie with the Cherokee words. Yeah, it's there's a lot of that. Like I started asking people around here, like because I'm eventually whenever I don't have to work a regular job anymore, which I hope is sooner than later, where I actually go around with a couple GoPros and I go in actually 2 locations here and speak with whatever's there. And people's like, oh yeah, you need to go to this. It's like I think 30 minutes away. It's a cave on the ocean here, and supposedly there's a witch in there that's famous. So I'm definitely going to talk to all my friends before I go in there and have some Christians with me throw down their stuff and to take care of me, to protect me. And I'm going to go with my good intention and love and see what that's all about. It's like the Wailing Witch of some cave, and I think the name is it's probably Ceiba Playa, so beach de Ceiba, whatever that is. There's also a beach here I go to. It's called the Warlocks Beach. That's close by, but a family is now moving in this house that's right next to the beach. That supposedly there's been some weird stuff going on, and so they're renovating this house right next to this beach now. And now I'm going to be very interested in how that works itself into it, and maybe if I'm there often, I can finally talk to them and get in this residence and see if there's anything to it.
I started looking up these cryptids and stuff in your area, and I'm like, oh my gosh! I mean, you got this critter called the Sapacati.
Oh my God, you're gonna tell me some things now. I don't know all of them.
And I forgot one other one I'll throw at you. It just hit me because Monica talked about this, the Lechuza.
Yeah,
I've heard of it, but I don't know it. Like I said, you guys are a little more knowledgeable of these things than I am. The one I know the most about is the Aleutians because of my encounters in the witches that are from here.
So let's talk about the witches, because it's like you said, a lot of this is based in witchcraft, lore. And well, even that critter I was talking about, I mean, according to it's a shapeshifter, and it's that deals with witchcraft, that can shapeshift into, half jaguar and all that kind of stuff. But what about this wailing witch you were talking about?
It's not the La Llorona. It's not that one. That's very famous.
I've heard of that too, yeah.
That's a famous Mexican witch, or not a witch, but like some type of entity that's screaming for a child. But this wailing witch, it's I can't think of the name. It's called the Witch of Sabia Playa or something like that. And I just kind of hear it. Like what you do is when you get to a new country, like you guys now lived in Germany for 20 years. Right. Up there, there's not, Germans don't have that kind of stuff. They'll have like the old folklorish stuff, with Hansel and Gretel, and they talk about, Hexen, which is witches is German, and here it's called Bruja. And there's a lot of that there. You can tell, like Europe is very foggy and mossy and mushrooms and it has that feel to it for real. I can see why people would think that, but here it's much more palpable. Everybody here knows a witch. Like, my aunt's a witch, for example, my girlfriend, and I don't want you to meet her. And I go, why? Well, I think she's the cause of this, that, and the other. And, people will come to these witches and ask them for their future and their, if you could spy on so-and-so's spouse. There's a lot of that, who's going around with who kind of thing. That happens a lot here. I mean, people here are pretty wild, to be honest with you. Really, seriously, they're Catholics, don't get me wrong, but there's always the face on Sunday, and then during the rest of the week we'll see what's going down. And so there's a lot of that. There's a lot of pieces like when we were kids, guys, like you'd be in neighborhoods and then there's that one house on the block or around the corner or the next block over that every kid avoided. If your ball goes in the front yard, don't go in there and get it because the old man will come get you or something like that. Oh, yeah. And that's every block here. There's somebody who knows, or there's so many people. There's exorcisms here like all the time. I've heard so many people talk about exorcisms here where there's a little girl, she's 5 to 8 years old, something like this, adolescent. And she just one day starts talking in tongues and they grab her and she's stronger than 2 or 3 men. And that's very common here too. People, I had people in this very apartments tell me these things, oh yeah, I was at the church when this happened. And the pastor so-and-so, the father and Catholic religion, so-and-so said this and that and the other. And we had to do this in holy water. And it's not that I don't believe it. It's just that I haven't seen it myself. You know what I'm saying? Right. But at the same time, if you see the way they do the Day of the Dead here, with the death whistles and the marching and the parades and the dun 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 and the dudes dressed up with their war helmet, with their war paint and feathers and helmets and stuff, you're just like, there's something here. It's a wild place. They're still finding stuff here. They're still finding Mayan ruins here. You walk in the woods here, guys, in an hour, you're going to run into something Mayan made, something. It's crazy.
So when we talk about the Mayans, is there, because I'm not all that familiar, we've all heard the term the Mayans, the Mayan tombs, and the Mayan relics. Is that associated with like the paranormal and spirits and bad omens, or is that just folklore, or is it something that people should be more aware of?
Well, I don't know how religious you guys are or where you sit on the. I'm pretty sure Texas is definitely a strong Christian as far as I remember. I don't remember you, Rob. I am not.
Yeah, I believe
I'm a man of God.
Yeah. I don't go to church, but
I'm a man of God, and I really do believe in it. I've had my own personal account and understanding with that. I just don't need a religion to do so. Right. But we all admit there's some type of higher power, okay? and there's other types. There's the big G gods, like my buddy Jim from the podcast Fisher's Fan Night Watch. He said there's the big G toms and there's the little G little G gods. Right. And I think these are the little G gods. So it's kind of like, because people think like the Mayans were these great astronomers and they had their calendar and they had kind of a science, I guess you would say. But they did some ritual sacrificial things too. They did a lot of like bloodletting and weird stuff. And if you take that and you give it any kind of power, it's just like the idea of like, say, Dogman. When it first started coming out, people would say it, like, seen it or not. Well, that's, whatever. If I haven't seen it, I believe it to be real from my eyewitness people to talk to me about it. But the more you talk about something and more it comes into existence, there's a term for that. I don't know the name of it right now, top of my head. But it's something like that. And if you believe in something, it becomes real. Then if you start praying to it, it becomes real. And if you start practicing some type of religion around it or some type of rituals around it, then it also kind of becomes real. So that's what it is, I think.
A lot of us too, we talk about this all the time. We always bring up the manifestation. Yeah. If somebody concentrates on something long enough, they can actually manifest things. I've done that. I must admit I can do that to an extent. But if a person is so intent on seeing something, either A, they manifest it, or B, they're put in such a mental state where they're seeing things that aren't there, which kind of I think happens more times than not. So that could be with a lot of these things. But you said another thing too, these stories and accounts you come across, like you've never seen the Dogman. But the data that's given when we do shows like this and talk to people, it's so important to put down the data.
Yeah.
I always tell people, if you saw a Dogman crossing the road, send it in to me. I don't care, because you know what it is? It's just another piece of data.
Another bullet point. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's very important. So
that's what we're trying to do. It's what these shows are about. It's what Rob, you've had your experiences. Tex has had a numerous experience. I've had a few myself. And when you put yourself out there, and you notice, I don't know if you guys have had this in your personal life, but the more I do this, the more things happen around me. Things are starting to slowly pick up. There's been times where I hear 3 knocks on the apartment door and there's nobody there. And I because of, talking to people I talk to, I just put my intention out there. I go, you are not allowed in and you are to stay out. Things like that, no matter what. I don't care if it's the dog with his tail wrapping on the door.
Yeah, I can't really speak for Tex. For me personally, since I came forward with my encounter in 2018 and started doing this, I could say to an extent. But also, though, as many people know, I've had numerous paranormal encounters and ghost-like encounters ever since I was 5 that actually I never spoke about until after I had my encounter, because it all seemed to come forward. And then for whatever the reason, the door for me was open, where I now realize that the things in my past actually happened. I wasn't dreaming. And I knew a lot of them I wasn't dreaming, but I was like, my 20s and my 30s and forgot about it after a week. You know what I mean?
Makes complete sense. Yeah, absolutely.
And life goes on, man, But now I study it. I study my life even more than I did ever, and try to figure out the things I saw in my past.
Well, I mean, I just got back from the field and I saw something I'd never seen before. Talked about it a little bit last night. I put a video out there. There's another video coming, but this rake or pale crawler thing, I've never seen one before, and I saw one this last weekend.
Oh,
and it was, I've never seen anything move so fast, and it was crazy. But anyway, show's not about me. But I was reading. If you want to talk about it, holler at me, and we'll go on your side we'll go talk about it on your show if you want, man.
Oh, absolutely. We'll make a date. We'll do it right after the show. I got you. We'll do that for sure. I've been waiting for And I haven't had anyone come on who's had a crawler encounter. I've had giant owls and
Right.
everything under the moon, but not that yet.
Well, it was my first time, and anyway, I was reading about some stuff in your area, the legend and the lore and everything. And I saw somebody in chat ask about the duende, and y'all have what's called a tata duende, and it's what it breaks down to is, I mean, this thing is a powerful spirit that's supposed to protect the animals in the jungle, right?
Yeah.
But it gets its name. It's Tata means grandfather or old, and duende is Spanish for goblin. So you're looking at the grandfather or old goblin.
Yeah.
And these, but I've heard of a duende, and I want to say, they have a duende in the Philippines also.
Yeah.
And it's weird how a lot of these are and I was reading the description, and it's very, very similar, except this one, the one that y'all have, doesn't have thumbs, and its feet are backwards.
Ouch.
I don't think I heard that one before.
Yeah.
I can tell you of a story. I don't even know what they're called. I was at a party a little more than a year ago, about a year and a half ago. I was at a party and I started talking to this girl. She spoke a little bit of English. That's back when my Spanish, well, still bad, but worse then. And we just got into it. She goes, well, what do you do? And I do this. I put up solar panels and, whatever. And I also have this podcast. She goes, oh, really? And she, you tell people sometimes that they want to tell you their stories, right there on the spot, especially if we got a couple beers in you. And she was telling me about this story, guys. Her aunt has always been kind of special, so apparently, and her aunt was supposedly talking to these little 4-inch, 5-inch people, where they have their own little thing. They come out of holes in the walls and floors and shit. I don't know exactly, but the story she told me, I'm trying to recall it. It was so crazy. It was her aunt. Once again, she's married. He's with somebody, and these little things kind of told her, and she said, "Yeah." And then she told him, she goes, "I know that you're doing this, and you're going to pay for this." And they go, "Whatever." And then so apparently the new couple now got in a vehicle and then had an accident, right? Mm-hmm. And so then the woman woke up in the hospital, and as she's coming to, she sees these little people on her bed, and they told her, yeah, you shouldn't have done what you did. And we want to let you know that she had nothing to do, but we're the ones that cut the brake lines. And she's like, what? And then she came in. So then the police came in and were questioning her, after she started feeling better after a couple of days, and said, what happened, and da-da-da-da-da. And she goes, she goes, yeah, I've heard that the brake lines were cut. And they go, well, I don't know how you know that, because you haven't received a report yet. We haven't told anyone in your family yet. We come to talk to you. We're trying to see if there's some foul play here. Mm-hmm. So that blew me away. They're on the side of this aunt who's always been, witchy or whatever. And I don't even know what the name of them are. And I've been looking for them. And I always heard it to be duende, but they're smaller. They're really little. They're little, they have their own, it's kind of like the Smurf someone put on the side here, this Papa Smurf. They're kind of but they don't look like Smurfs. They're little people, and they have these powers. And I still don't know what to make of that story. I've heard so many accounts like this, though.
Tex and I have, we're getting a little more familiar with our Spanish or Mexican phenomenon with Monica, because Monica is like an encyclopedia with that side of the town, and we're learning a lot about it. So and again, when you are on the show, we're going to ask you about it, certainly. But I want to change the gears a little bit, Tom, because you sent me a couple fascinating things that in your bio that I do want to touch on that I know you probably are a little anxious or maybe apprehensive to talk about. Before we do that, thanks to Sinfully Wicked, been a BMR Pirate R for 3 months. Keith from Michigan, Two Shadows, and Joe Two Pops, your awesome super chats, you guys. I appreciate that. Again, very much appreciated. Not expected, always appreciated. Give a thumbs up if you're new here. Subscribe to Texas Front Porch, Bigfoot Mission Rob. Tom Franklin's The Eye of Jupiter, The Blondes and the Boos, Monica Rollins, Donnie Joe, and Paranormal Paul, if you would, on YouTube. That would be great. If you're new, please do that and hit the like button. So, changing gears just a little bit, keeping it all, weird. This show is always weird, right? You've had, I think, if I remember correctly, as a young child or maybe a young adult, didn't you and your sister, and I don't know where you lived at the time, you can obviously let us all know, you came across some poltergeist activity.
Yeah, that was my introduction into all of this. It's always, looking back on it, I guess it kind of like left an imprint on me. And then like all the skills that I've gotten later, being a musician and a stand-up comic and being in front of people, has enabled me the ability to be able to speak with people, read them, and then talk to them. This happened in a period of 1988. So I was 8 years old. I was born in 1980. And this happened in my grandmother's house on 337 South Fulton Avenue. I don't think the house exists anymore, so you guys can look it up if you like to on Google Maps there. And this house was a row home. Baltimore is well known for its row homes. It's kind of like Philadelphia. It has this. They're kind of like sister cities in the way they were planned and built back in the days when they did that. And so this is somewhere in the middle of the block. So we lived there with my grandmother and her husband. So it wasn't my grandfather. He passed before I was even born. And she gave us a place to stay because my dad was in between jobs.
Right.
So it's not even a wide house. It's maybe, I don't know, what's this, 15 feet across at the front. It has a window, steps you go into. So we would, there's 3 bedrooms upstairs. So you, at the top of the steps, you make a left. That's the front room towards the front of the house where the street is. And then there's 2 bedrooms to the right. And at the very end, there's a bathroom. And me and my sister would stay in the last bedroom in the back before the bathroom. There's no corridor going in between the rooms. It's just your open door. You're in a room into the bathroom, just to give you a little bit of layout. These rooms, when you walk into the doors, into the room, the doors would swing in and to the left on both doors. So you just open door into the room. It's kind of important later in the story. So we stayed in this back room, and we had separate beds. I was 8 and my sister was 6. So we're very young. And my mother, coming out of a former relationship, just like my father as well, but she had partial custody of my stepsister, or my half-sister, better said. And she was like, she was 5 years old, 13 at the time. So she just hit puberty. So it's kind of important. Like, we all kind of know that. And I don't have to tell people who probably watch these shows, but anyhow, so when she came over occasionally on the weekends, this happened, I can't remember exactly all the time. It was at least 3 times, I would say it happened. She would come in there and everything would be fine. We're playing hide and seek, we're coloring, whatever we're doing as kids. And when you come into the room, their bed, so if you look immediately to the right after opening door, their bed was there as a single bed, but they both stayed on it. And I was across a little space there with a dresser in between on the wall. And my bed was in the back right corner there. And 9 o'clock, 9:15, I can't remember what it was our bedtime. And my dad goes, all right, time to go to bed. Make sure you're washed up, after eating dinner and doing dishes and all that. And we were in there and text Rob. It was just things started happening. Like it was immediately weird. It didn't happen every time she came, but I remember very distinctly, of course, when it started.
Right.
We would be laying in the bed, and we have fans going because we didn't have air conditioning back then. So it was hot as crap. It's mid-90s, even in the evening. Swelterly East Coast hot muggy crap. And we used to have, like, when you come into the door on the left there was a bunch of shoes. It would be like, I'd have 2 pairs of shoes, and my sisters would have like 4 apiece, like normal. And these shoes were starting to like hit us. Like, they were flying off the floor and landing on the bed. And I remember looking over, and every time I tell it, more stuff's coming out. I remember looking over and seeing if my sister was standing in the corner throwing them at me. And she wasn't. And they were screaming, and I was screaming. And we were like, what the? It was like a movie, dude. It was crazy. It wasn't like, like a whole bunch, but it would be like, pop. Wow. And it was the spacing and the timing is actually more scary than just all at once.
Sure.
And so we're like screaming and crying and pleading, and my parents could hear us like down the steps because they made us keep the door open. They would yell up through the room, "Hey, what the hell are you guys doing up there?" And then we were like, the shoes are being thrown at us. And we're like, all right. So they figured that my older sister was playing a prank on us. We're little kids, and she's 13. And we're like, no. And I'm like, no, she's not. And they're like, just go to bed. You guys are playing around. Then it happened again. So we're freaking out. The lights started flickering off and on, like just, it was losing my mind. I'm shaking. I couldn't even move. My little sister, Jenny, she went down the steps and started telling them, like, hey, there is some crazy shit going on up here. They told her once again, go back to bed. It's Friday. They're having a couple beers, listening to Hank Williams, having a good old time. Even in Baltimore, they listen to Hank Williams, Dex, I guarantee it.
Even in Baltimore. Come on.
I grew up on country music.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm a metalhead now. Don't worry about it. I'm a metalhead.
Metallica, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I like all the genres. I like them all.
I don't like them all, but most of them. And
you won't catch me at the opera. Okay. I
don't know. You could catch me at the opera, but I don't necessarily like it. But you won't catch me at like electronic dance music party or something. I mean, I've done it.
Techno music.
I've done it because my girlfriend's into it. She's hot, so I'll go. She's 10 years younger than me. Come on, let's go. Like, all right.
Yeah, you got a little techno baby. Okay.
Yeah. But not always. She also likes her metal too. So in her country music and stuff, and she shows me some cool Mexican music sometimes. Sometimes I don't like all of it. Cultural thing. Yeah. So they're downstairs, like, to go to your room, and so at this, I don't remember exactly which time it was. She went down multiple times to complain and to tell, hey, help us. Something's going on up here. We need some kind of parental protection, for God's sakes. And right. I remember, so I don't know how I was able to get out of my bed because I just was sick of it, I guess. And I was standing in that second room on the right, all the way, the back room, and the door was open. So I'm standing, back a ways from the door frame itself and the door. So whatever that is, 3 feet. 4 feet, something like that. And she's coming up the steps. And as she just about to approach the door, I said, so what did they say? And then boom, the door slammed in her face. And the only person who could have done that would have been me. And I didn't touch a damn thing. And being 8 years old and your parents are screaming at you to go to bed and they don't believe you and stop effing around upstairs and whatever they were saying. And it was freaking utterly terrifying. My dad doesn't believe me. My mom kind of believes me, but she might be just saying that to keep the peace. But my 2 other sisters will definitely say yes. And we're in our 40s now, all of us. And so then my little sister kind of turns the doorknob and opens the door and then says to me, did you slam the door in my face? And I said, no. And she I couldn't move. So she goes, it's okay. And my little sister grabbed me by the elbows and kind of pushed against my, pushed my rib cage and just kind of spun me around like I was Weekend at Bernie's or Joe Biden, one of the two, and walked me over to my bed and put me in my bed and tucked me in with a sheet and then proceeded to try to go back to bed. And then things started to happen where it felt like there was wind, the fan, it's not the fan, it kind of wiggles the sheets like this. And it's nothing, what I mean? There's a rhythm to it. There's a vibration. But there was like these moments where I felt like these cold drafts. You can even see them in the sheet, like going up my legs and moving the sheets, and I'm freaking out. And and then there's a space between the bed and the wall. I was in the back right corner there, and there's always a little space, whatever it is, 6 inches for mold and stuff like that. Everyone does that, and I distinctly felt like, because you couldn't see it, like a hand reached up between that wall and in the bed and put its hand on my chest. And I literally just jumped out of bed and screamed. And even my sister, my little one, she said that we used to have an Alf doll, a little Alf, remember Alf?
Oh,
and
yeah.
She used to have one. She had one in a high chair, little tiny high chair.
Oh, yeah.
She said at one point, because I had, a lot of the times I had my the sheets over my head, just covering up, because that's what we do as kids. And there was one point she told me, she told everyone actually, that she peeked out and she actually seen that doll like moving around, and like she said it was dancing. So there's all that in the light, and that's basically the story, guys. And it just kind of went away.
Peter's got me right there. Not really quickly, and Tex knows this. Most of the people that know me in the chat room. Dolls. Once you hit dolls, dude, I was like, oh, I got chills. I do not like dolls.
Freak me out, yeah.
Do not like dolls, and I do not like clowns. And you had to bring up dolls. I mean, it goes with the territory, Tom. I'm glad you mentioned it.
I'm a big disembodied voice guy. Those voices I was hearing out there, guys, that put, I'm in my mid-40s, and that put chills on my spine. I do not like disembodied voices.
I saw a Bigfoot turn into what I always say, a demon, which scared me. But if I walk into a house full of dolls, I turn around and leave. Yeah, that's me.
They are weird, especially the old ones with the weird makeup, and they all have the face and they're just staring at you on the shelf.
Please stop already.
Like that Annabelle doll.
Oh, God.
Or the Mexican has that the island of the dolls at some place I've never been.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
I'm sorry. I didn't know that was your trigger, Rob. Next time I'll make sure I keep that.
I mean, it goes with, like I said, it goes with the territory. You talk about this, it comes up. And when it comes up, I have goosebumps right now just mentioning that, because that's just me. That's my
have you ever had any entity touch you?
Huh?
Have you ever had an entity touch you? Because that was freaking. Have you ever had an entity touch you?
No, I don't believe so. Not that I remember. I can honestly say no. So, but I've seen plenty. So,
okay, yeah, that's a different.
We'll save that for your
pressure.
Show. We'll save
feel that pressure, like to feel like that touch, and it's a feel. You know how it feels when someone touches your chest.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's what it was, dude. And it messed me up, man. It messed me up. Also seen a Hatman one time too.
Yeah. I've seen that. Well, Tex has an experience with something similar, and I've seen shadow people all the time. Used to.
I see them too once in a while. They don't really bother me so much because they're not. How would you say it? They're not in my face. They're kind of in the peripherals, and you kind of go, "Did I just see that?" And then you kind of go, "All right." And then, as soon as you become aware of them, then you see them a little more, and then when you start catching a little bit more of them, and then once they realize that you catch a little more of them, that's when they kind of go away again. That seems to be my experience, anyway.
I won't get into mine, because the show's for you. But I saw a dark shadow figure that was it stood on the floor, and his head hit the ceiling in my marital house. And it came out of the darkness, and it was darker than the blackness in my house.
Kind of like that movie Ghost, like those things would come out, like that kind of.
Yeah, well, I don't remember. So all I know, it was darkness over darkness. As I found out later, I brought it into my house because we used to collect artifacts from all of these thrift shops and these other stores, hobby shops that were always relics. So we had collected a whole bunch, and we set them up. After about 7-8 months of saving them, we set up a room. And then after I brought them all out, within a week, we had all sorts of things start happening. Negativity, everything. And then Long story short, we got a psychic medium, I guess, came out. I got home from work to some lady in my house. And it says, yeah, your nefarious activity was coming from the room in which we placed all these objects. So
It's interesting because you always hear, like, when you go to these places, like, say if you go to the Bell Witch Cave, don't take any rocks. Or
yeah,
if you
I
go to
heard
a haunted house, don't take anything.
hey
But
man,
if you're
even
going to the first shop and get that,
even your shoes, the dirt in the bottom of your shoes, make sure there's no dirt you bring home when you walk through the caves.
oh, you had to wash them off before you leave the site. I didn't know that. I never thought about that. The secondhand store could bring you home some secondhand, like, entities. I never even
Well, a
considered
lot of
that.
it could be haunted, man. You don't know. And even from the antique shops as well.
Yeah,
I mean, we didn't go for the $1 set. We went all over. It didn't matter if it was a thrift shop or an antique shop, which was a little more, I guess, more expensive. But it's all hand-me-downs. It's all it is.
right. Right. I mean, we used to get a lot of hand-me-downs too, or we used to always go to the Goodwill. Always, when I was a kid, we were broke. We had to go.
And really quickly for a person that's been a subscriber for a little bit, there was just briefly for now I just lost it. For the unknown, yeah, I saw a shadow person. It was extremely dark. It looked like a humanoid figure, and it was in the darkness in one of my rooms. But the darkness of this thing superseded the darkness of the room, and it took on a humanoid shape.
Yeah.
It wasn't very descriptive. You couldn't tell if it was a man or woman. It was just, you could tell it had a shape of a body.
Now there's
for the unknown. So
Now is there a distinct difference between Hatman and a Shadow Man, or is there a certain specific type of shadow, like known as the Hatman? Or is there a
Tex
difference in them?
probably Tex has a little story he could share for you.
Sure.
Well, I mean, what I saw was, I think it was more of an apparition. It really wasn't a shadow, but it was the shape of a guy leaning against the wall in my living room, leaning against the fireplace. Was, one leg kicked up on the wall, long saddle coat, rifle kicked over his arm with a broad brim hat.
Holy crap! And it was like a silhouette, or like it was like 3D
No, it
shadow?
was. I mean, yeah, it was translucent, but it was, and like I couldn't see the bottom of one leg, and because it kind of faded out type thing,
Yeah.
But right below the duster, but it wasn't like just a dark shadow, it was. But it really didn't have a whole lot of color detail in it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I can, like, picture it in my head. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I saw was I was in this old this was like when I was 24. I was in a band, and we were recording an album for the weekend before my guitarist had to go to the States to do his it's kind of like doctors do when they go to the hospital. And they're there before they become a doctor, residency, but it's kind of like that, but it was for BASF in Jersey or New York or something. So we were like, yeah, let's get this album out. That way we have it. And so it was like a whole weekend project. And so it was like Saturday night, I think, something like that, Friday night. And we were in there, and this place is called the Power Tower. It's in the old industrial area. There's an Industriegebiet, industrial area in Germany. And it was on the 4th floor. It was 4 floors, and we were on the 3rd floor. I then eventually moved to the 4th floor. And it was weird. Like when you go into this place, it had like a spiral, like a squared off stairwell that you would go into each floor, but also go up at the same time. And this 3rd floor, you would go up, you would open the door out of the stairwell, and there was then 3 doors, and they had different locks because at each one of this, so it was like triple lock to get into the building, to get into that specific door of the wing of the building, and then each band room had its own lock. So you would have to go through that door, and then you have to go through, I think, one more door in the middle of the hall with motion detectors. Someone was out there selling something. Who knows? Bread or something. It's that time of evening. And So then you would go to the end of the hall, make a right turn, and then that would be where my room was. But if you keep going straight down that hall after you make the right turn, then there was a fire escape. And we had that door open. And we played the songs like live and just kept going through until we got the sound we wanted. And we're just kind of like taking a break, shooting the breeze, talking shit. And I'm sitting on this couch, and it's like me and another guy sitting on the couch, and there's like two other guys with a 4-piece band. And we're like, one's holding a guitar, filming around. The guys sitting next to me, we're all talking. And I heard that middle door in the hallway shut. And I was like, oh, there's somebody in another band here, mixing or whatever the hell they're doing.
Right.
Probably up there smoking weed most of the time. And then I heard footsteps sound like boots. And I just didn't think nothing of it. It's like 5 minutes went by. I didn't hear another door open, but I just thought, maybe I just didn't hear it. The door to the band room, another band room open. And then I'm looking from the couch through the room to the door frame, and it has like that angled light that goes out of the room onto the floor, kind of. And as I'm looking at that door frame, something told me to look. I seen it. You could barely see. You could see the brim of the hat, all of it, and you could see where it stopped and then started to go up, and then there was a door frame. So it was taller than the door frame. It was every bit of 7 feet tall. And it just, hey, new member. Wow, you're killing it over there, Rob. This is awesome, dude.
Yes, another Bigfoot Rob pirate. Arr, thanks to Shadows, matey. Also, thanks for your super chat. Thanks to everybody who dropped a super chat, which were Keith, 2 Shadows, Joe, 2 Shadows, a new member, and Symphony Wick has been a piratess, a young matey pirate chick, I guess, for the last 3 months. Thank you for that. I don't know what you call a female pirate. I guess just a pirate, eh? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Piratette?
Piratette, I guess. Yeah, I guess.
Piratette.
She's a member of my wenches.
There you go.
Sorry, no offense. I didn't mean to
bring me my ale and my sidearm.
I don't think women are wenches, but back in those days of the piracy, you never know where they roll.
Yeah. A little bit of a side thing, but thanks so much. Thank you so much for being a member of Rob's show. Appreciate that, guys. Yeah. And so I looked at this door, and this thing just went across the door frame. Black as night, like you guys were saying, blacker than the black, and it really stood out against the light, but you could see the black around it too, and it just like literally just like, and I was just looking, and I actually talked to my friend about this recently. He was on my show. He talked about a satanic ceremony that he seen in the woods of Germany there, and I said, "You remember that day I seen that?" He goes, "Yeah, I remember that. You just kind of like stood and stared, and they were like, 'What's wrong?' And I don't know. And I walked over to the door. I looked to the left, looked to the right, took the right first, actually, because there's a fire escape there. The door didn't open. I didn't hear or see anybody. But plain as day, it was a dude with that. I always call it the spy versus spy hat. You know what I mean? Yeah. It had like that look to it. And it was so distinct and so, it's like it wanted me to see it. And yeah, that was really weird. It was so blatant. It was so like, here I am. So it didn't really scare me. It just kind of made me go, what?
I got to tell you, Tom, we got about 10 minutes left in the show, and I got to ask you because I'd be mad if I did not ask you.
All right, fine.
UFOs, things of that nature. We hear a lot of reports about. I call them UFOs. I even call them flying saucers. I'm not a UAP guy. Okay. I don't utilize that.
I'm in the right place.
So yeah, UFOs, man. I tell you, it's beautiful skies. They're always clear here in the States. Have you had either it could be reports from people on your show or yourself personally? You come across any high strangeness in the skies?
I have twice. Nothing like really noteworthy. The first time I took a telescope when I was in Germany, I bought a telescope. And I was looking at the light pollution maps. I wanted to get to the darkest place I could because it was a Newtonian refractor or reflector. It's a mirror reflector, so I wanted to make sure it worked well. And so I was with my wife and my daughter at the time, and there were some wild boars out there tonight too. So my dog was going off. So there's this old military field they used to do. It's in where I used to be in the Army actually, and they used to do maneuvers out there. And it's still like there's no trees there. I guess there's too much I don't know, oil in the ground or something. I don't know. And so I was like, oh, we'll just go there. It's not that far away, and I could park and then walk in about 10 minutes to set it up. And it wasn't quite dark yet, so I put the tripod down and put the telescope up, and I just looked above the tree line about, I don't know, 500 yards away, and I seen literally like an orange dot. It was like, it wasn't glowing, but it was like the color, it was orange, and the sun was on it. You can kind of tell like it had the shadow underneath. And I try to point it out to my ex-wife, but she never sees anything like that. I see there's a deer and she wouldn't see it. It's one of those kind of people. And I looked at it, and it just kind of like hovered there for a second, and it just disappeared. That was the one time, right? So nothing major. Then I was here. We lived in a house about, I don't know, 5 miles away from here, all of us. And I was in the back. I just got my truck, so we're just kind of playing with the basketball in the front yard and laying in the bed of the truck, having a beer, talking, playing with my daughter. And it was like in the evening, and there was clouds in the sky, and you can kind of see where the sun was shining through some of the clouds and not the others. And we seen this white glowing blip moving, and my little daughter actually pointed out to me. She was, "Daddy, look." And I said, "You see that?" I go, "Yeah." And it went, and it didn't have the tail light blinker or any of that stuff, and it just went. You see it go through a cloud and then out a cloud, and then it went into a cloud and just disappeared. And I still don't know what that is, because it would be a satellite, because that'd have to be outside the atmosphere. If it was a plane, it wouldn't have moved the way it did, because it wasn't necessarily in a straight line, and it's too slow. So yeah, there's a lot of UFO things that go on here. I've heard of people talk about where there's missing time here or something. I've heard of a couple, but not as much as you would think. But
All right.
they're here. They're here, though.
They're all over. And little Patty has a final question before you wrap it up, which I wasn't even going to ask. So thanks, Patty.
Thank you, Patty.
Bigfoot in Mexico, at least, or maybe where you're at. Are they out there? Hear reports, stories, anything?
The people that I've talked to people in the States, and they say, yes, they're most definitely here, but they're mostly in the north of the country, up near like the Texas border, the Arizona border.
Right.
Down here, not as much. But I don't think I haven't exhausted I haven't really looked into it, to be completely honest with you. But the little bit I have, it's more in the north, not so much here.
Very good. Well, yeah,
sorry, that's an exciting way to leave out the show. Sure.
that was just you're leaving me flabbergasted.
I'm leaving you flat. That's what I'm actually doing, Rob. You're looking for something
you're not
juicy.
leaving me flat. I'll ask you a question where I like your thoughts on all this phenomena. I don't care if it's cryptid, paranormal, ghosts, alien. If you sum it all up, I personally think it's all connected. But the other question, though, do you think it's demonic?
That depends whether or not you believe in demons or not. And I don't throw the word demon around. It's just not what I do.
Well, most people don't.
I just don't. But it's because I haven't had any personal experiences with them. Okay. But I could being an extremely what would you say, like what's the word I'm looking for? I really enjoy conspiracies because most of them become true, Rob, especially in the last 5 years. And so the more you go down that path, you do realize that there is an all-powerful evil. So therefore is an all-powerful good as well.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I like
so thanks.
Well, no, it's because if you make it simple, I believe in God, therefore I believe in the devil. Do I worship the devil? No. I believe in God and I worship God in my own way. But if me personally, and just as coming from good old Rob, if God exists, the devil exists. In my world, in somebody else's world, it might be something else. And I think what you stated sums it up for me. That's a good answer. I'll get really.
Yeah, it's kind of like if it becomes to a point where you think, okay, these whatever these people are or whoever they are, the 300 families, whatever they are, they're kind of getting all the power and the money that they have. They have more money that they can spend in multiple lifetimes, passing on through multiple family members through generations. What is it that they want? They want our louche. They want our light. They want our love. They want everything from us. So if you want to call that demonic, because it's something obscure that they're hiding. They are praying to something of the darkness, whatever that may be. There's Satan. Saturn worshipers, which could also be then construed as Satan worshipers. So yeah, I would say, is there some type of like really profound evil in this world that is, well, eventually we'll lose because of shows like ours, as well as other people doing good works out there, just by loving, everybody trying to do that. That's a good start, guys. Yeah, I don't think they can win, but whatever these things are, I don't know, man. We're still trying to put it together. That's why
it's a question that I tell you, I always, when I ask a question, I know nobody can answer because we don't have the answers. So, Tom, where can we find you, man? Why don't you go ahead and tell the audience all your social media? I have all your links, by the way, in this show description. But if you'd like to go ahead and tell everybody what you got going on, upcoming, and where we can find you.
Sure. I'm the host of the Eye of Jupiter podcast. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Rumble. You can find me on everywhere except for Apple. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm not lazy. I'm just busy. I drop a show every Tuesday. So my show actually dropped today. It was the Draco Agenda, about a person who's had has very good insight. A German lady who came on and talked to me about the Draco Agenda and what their plans are. I also do a live every Friday, which we'll be seeing Rob on. This week I will be having on Bradley Lale from the Awaken podcast. We're going to talk about plasma. Next week I will be having on what's a little bit later time at 8:30 because I had to move it because it is none other than Mr. N.K. Davis. He's coming on. Yeah, he's coming on with me. We're going to go through the Zapruder film and the things that he's found. If you guys don't know
that'll be a nice one. Yeah,
it's going to be great. And then I'm going to be having you on, Rob, on the 21st. So that's my live shows coming up. Yeah, become a member, like, subscribe, do all the good stuff, and come check me out, guys.
Yeah, be sure to tell OMK I said hi. I haven't talked to him.
Yeah, give him a shout out. It's funny you mentioned MK because I was going to try to get him on for this Thursday with me and Tex because I don't have anybody lined up Thursday. And I heard he was a little under the weather, so I'm glad to see that he'll be on with you. I'm going to check. The Zapruder film is. He was? Okay.
Yeah, he was supposed to come on with me a couple weeks ago, but he had a situation medically that he couldn't. He said, I could probably try. I go, you know what, Mr. Davis, you've done good enough work for the world. We can move it back. And he goes, okay. And so I was able to get him up in 2 weeks here. No, excuse me, next week, next Friday.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, man, Tom, thank you for coming on. I enjoyed this show thoroughly. Personal experiences. We learned a little more about the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, which I found fascinating. And I think everybody in the audience did too. And I got to thank, once again, Symphony Wicked, Keith, Two Shadows, Joe, and Two Shadows for becoming a member. That's awesome. I appreciate you guys. If you're new, please subscribe to our channels, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, Tom Franklin, Eye of Jupiter, Texas Front Porch, The Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast, Paranormal Paul, Donnie Cho Says Stuff. Very funny show, I might add. Very funny. And, of course, Diva Dimension or having tea with the Duchess at Diva Dimension. You can find her on YouTube. And I missed somebody. I think Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new. And text. Today is Tuesday. You'll be joining me Thursday. Do you have anything Wednesday, or are you off until Monday?
No, I'm doing a Waking Up Weird in the morning. At 8 o'clock.
Tomorrow morning? Okay.
Yep. And then I'll probably be on the whatchamacallit, the Paranormal Show and Tell tomorrow night. So
Paranormal Show. Oh, okay. The Blondes. Okay, cool. Very nice. Well, for Tom, for Tex, everybody that came in, appreciate you, love you. Thanks for the support. Until next time, I'm BMR, and we are out.
This is the future. Evolution.
The Crossing Realms Conference launches September 19th and 20th and will dock in Richmond, Missouri. This is already being called the event of the year, folks, with an unprecedented list of speakers and special guests, 2 days of cryptids, UFOs, and paranormal presentations, along with a celebrity-filled ghost hunt, meet and greet, gallery reading, vendors, and a film screening. This promises to be both educational and fun. Go to eventbrite.com to secure your tickets and vendor slots before they are all abducted. They're going fast.